What's good, boys? It's your pal JJ here, back with another Funhouse Sports Centre. Hope you've been having a great Easter weekend wherever you are, if you're celebrating. Uh, with that, here to talk about some updates regarding what to expect for the rest of the file, some CFB 26 news, and we couldn't start off, this video without talking about the finale of season 8, which led us to the third time these two schools have matched up in the national championship of Funhouse. That's, of course, Florida State Seminoles, led by Coach Grand, and the Tennessee Volunteers, led by Coach CJ. This time around, Coach Grand takes the dub, making his third national championship win, making him so far the highest at 3, where CJ has 2. So that was a big game. Grand now been in 7 of 8 of our national championships, which doesn't surprise anybody, frankly. I'm interested to see if he stays at Florida State or he thinks about an alternative opportunity in 26. For season 9, 10, 11, I want to talk about how we're going to keep the excitement going, how we're going to keep the league, a fun place to be, and why we should stay here. And, frankly, power through the end of this file and have a nice break for a little bit until CFB 26 comes our way. Back in the day of good old daily advance Madden, when we were building the community itself, it started off with about 8 or 9 of us, and it was just piece by piece of KMAC recruiting on a daily basis. We had to incentivize playing games to keep this thing going. And that's where, his great mindset kicked in and said, we're going to offer participation points. Fast forward to 2025, we have such a strong community and such users willing to play their games for the sakeness of just wanting to be a part of this, that participation points weren't really necessary. But beyond that, we don't have players for the duration like we do in Madden. Best case scenario, you get a 4-year starter. A lot of times, a lot of us have lost players way earlier than we had hoped, and that's part of it. So participation points have not really needed to be a thing. Having said that, I think for seasons 9 and 10 going forward, because of course at the end of season 11 it won't matter, we will do some participation points for those guys that are dedicated and playing their games, because I want to show you some love and I appreciate you being here for through it all. We got some users that have dropped off a little bit. We've got some that picked it up a little bit. So let's see how this goes, just to power through and finish off. That way everybody can get to golfing, everybody can get to playing their Marvel rivals, and we'll see you in 26. So how that's going to work is, there's not actually going to be a point system. It's going to be you play all your games. You give me 2 players on offense and 2 players on defense. You want me to gas up, and then I'm going to do that for you. It doesn't matter if they're a senior, freshman. You play all your games, your pick. You give one, you have to give 1 or 2 force wins. I'm going to still, give you that grace. It's just not going to be as gassed up. Now, you miss more than 2. Sorry, that's going to be the standard. We only get 12 games, excluding if you make the CFP or whatnot. So I feel like that's a very easy standard to accomplish. And I know we got a group in here to get it done. Speaking of keeping things interesting, I also had a new idea in regards to our season 10 and what I will actually deem season 11 conference reshuffle. That is a little bit more incentive. What is that incentive? Well, we're going to instate a new rule just for the remainder of the file. That is, you win your conference, you pick your conference. And then a snake draft the next year. So the 4 winners from the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC will pick their conference the following year. And we will do that for season 10 and season 11. So that should definitely make things interesting. And let's see how that works out. To wrap this video up, let's talk about the future. CFB 26. It's going to be here sooner than you think. It's crazy to think about. With that, let's talk about team selection. So we're obviously a little bit out, but I am going to make this known and I will refresh, and remind people as we go on. The day to let me know if you're staying or switching is July 1st, 2025. All right. Game comes out a couple weeks later. Season 1 should start around, like I said, end of July. So after the first big patch, and off we go. So July 1st is the deadline to let me know what you're doing. Okay. In addition, I do have some bigger news to share that not too many people know about. In fact, Nobody knows about this. So, except for one, which will make sense in a second. Part of the college football experience, in my eyes, I was never a Madden guy before, NCAA was canceled. It wasn't even called CFB, it's called NCAA. So I didn't even play Madden until that was an option. NCAA wasn't an option. As much as I love playing as my Ducks, the other thing I love doing was taking a very, very bad school and turning them into something special. And I think that that's something we want to add, and we will be adding for CFB 26. So while we have the Funhouse, where you can take whatever school you like, take another job anytime you like, as long as you play your games, that's what the fun's all about. What we're also going to introduce is the Doghouse. And the Doghouse for next year is going to be where you have to take a 2.5 star school or less and stay there for essentially the entire file. If you do want to switch to schools, you have to switch to one that's 2.5 or less. What does that mean for you? It means you definitely want to join that one earlier rather than later, because nothing worse than hopping in with a bunch of 4 stars when you got to be at 2.5. The other thing, just forewarning, it is it is not for everybody. All right, it is a grind sometimes. Sometimes you don't get those recruits. Other times you strike gold on one you didn't know about. It's all a different rendition and different way to enjoy the game we love. So just to be a part of one or the other is not necessary. You can be part of both. You can be in just in Funhouse, just in the Doghouse. Either way, we're happy to have you here. Part of the success of Doghouse is going to come from everybody's favorite. Yes, I will be the commissioner overseeing the entire project of Funhouse and Doghouse, but I'm happy to announce that KMAC is stepping into a commissioner role for the Doghouse, mainly to recruit and keep spirits going. You obviously know he's going to be beating the North Texas Mean Green, and he's going to keep that tradition going. And you know what? We're going to have a ton of fun in CFB 26 after we take a break from CFB 25, of course. That's going to do it for this Sports Center, guys. I'm JJ. I appreciate you being here. Hope you appreciate me. Best of luck to you all, and see you on the field.